Thai. Hi, my name is Francis, and my parents gave me the name after St. Francis of Assisi. Thai, we are your continuation, and I vow to continue what you taught us, especially yesterday. You told us about the bell, Gatha, that we be awakened, and we help others to be awakened. And we transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. This is my vow, and I know that the path will not be effortless, even though we learn about effortless, we would learn about mindfulness with insight. And I know the solution to that is the dying of the self. With the dying of the self, then they can be effortless. But at the same time, to live that vow, we will have to go through burning decisions, like flames burning, and we have to make the decisions against the collective energies. And I also see that I'm transforming my suffering and also my parents' suffering. And the way I have been doing, and the way I will continue to do, is I pray to God, and the God is in me, and also outside of me is the cosmic true nature body, and also inside of me. But you mentioned about that everything comes from arising from conditions. I see it as everything comes from God's plan, which is everything is good. I get anxiety, I get depression, I get ill health. It's a blessing. If I get good health, I get the Sangha, I get your teaching. It's a blessing. So I cannot see it as everything comes from arising of conditions. I see it as a path of compassion, and everything arises from compassion.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, our friend Francis was named after the monk St. Francis of Assisi. First of all, she expressed to Thai how inspired she was by Thai's teaching of the bell yesterday, and that she has made a vow to herself to continue Thai and to really master this practice, and to live the insight of the Gatha deeply, to transcend her own anxiety and sorrow. And her first partial question is how, with such a strong vow, she can do that without having too strong a sense of self. So how can she realize her vow to overcome difficulties in her life, to heal herself? For example, in order to truly transcend anxiety and sorrow, she knows she will have to make a lot of burning decisions to change her way of life against the opinions of those around her, her family and society. So how can she realize that vow without having too strong a sense of self? The second part of her question is that when she experiences difficulties in her life, whether it's anxiety or depression or ill health, she understands these as being a gift from God. Francis is a Christian, and so she takes these as a blessing. It's part of God's plan. So her question is, she sees God as something both outside herself and inside her, but is it true that God is good, that everything God sends to her is good, and that she should receive it as good? Francis is aware that everything arises from conditions, and can we see God's role in these conditions?
You spoke about the death of the self. The dying of the self. I don't think that the self has to die because there is no self to die. The self is just a view, a wrong view, a notion. It's not reality. So there is no need for something that is not there to die. We should not try to kill the self. But you can remove an illusion by having a vision, a deep vision of reality. So practicing the meditation on impermanence, because everything is changing so quickly, and naturally the notion of the self is no longer there, because the self is something that is everlasting, remaining the same. And you may ask whether God is a self or not. Sure that God is not a self. If God is a self, and then all of us are selves, the big self or the small selves. If there is a me, a self, there should be a non-me existing at the same time. We can accept self as a reality. On the conventional level of truth, we can speak of me and I and you, he and she, but because that designation is useful, it's called conventional designation. If we don't have this conventional designation, we cannot talk, we cannot do business. I, you, this and that are called in Buddhism conventional designations. The problem is that we have to be aware that it is only conventional designations, and we are free from them. We can make good use of them, but we are free from them. And as I have said, that even the Buddha, we have to be free from the Buddha. There is a Zen teacher. One day in his Dhamma talk, he said, I am allergic to the word Buddha. But sometimes I have to pronounce the word Buddha. But do you know, my friends, every time I have to utter the word Buddha, after that I have to go to the bathroom and rinse my mouth 3 times. That's the way the Zen people talk. They want to speak about freedom, and even freedom from Buddha. Because the Zen teachers, they have their own way, and their way is sometimes very strong. I am allergic to the word Buddha. Every time I have to pronounce the word Buddha, and then I have to go back and rinse my mouth. It's something not very clean. It's a very strong statement. And then in the audience, there was a Zen student who stood up and said, Dear teacher, I am also allergic to the word Buddha. Every time I hear you pronounce the word Buddha, I have to go to the river and wash my ear 3 times. I think that is a good couple of teacher and students. They are free from words and notions, Even the important words like Buddha or God, they are free from their notions. Because we may get Buddha and God only as notions and not the truth, the reality. So we have to be very careful. And of course in this retreat we have learned about dependent origination. Remember, we have that example on the clouds. There are many clouds in the sky. And these clouds, they interact with each other. And they produce each other. But that is the lateral, horizontal relationship. But we know also that all clouds come from the ocean. So there is a vertical relationship. So you are a cloud, but you carry the ocean with you. You are a human being, but you carry God inside of you. That is a vertical relationship. So there is the horizontal explanation, and there is a vertical. But these two should not be distinguished as two separate things. Looking into the horizontal, you see the vertical. And looking deeply into the vertical, you see the horizontal. So you have to remove the notion of horizontal and vertical at the same time. And we have learned that notions like being and non-being, good and evil, have to be removed. Because that is the way our mind consciousness perceive things. And if we describe God as the ground of being, we lock him, we lock her into a notion, the notion of being. If God is the ground of being, and who will be the ground of non-being? So we cannot think of God in terms of being and non-being. God transcends the term of being and non-being. As the Buddha said, the right view is a view that transcends both the notion of being and non-being. Not only that, but right view is also the view that transcends the notion of good and evil. And if you say that God is in control of the kingdom of goodness, and who will be in control of the kingdom of evil? So God, the ultimate, transcends both the notion of good and evil. And until you see that, you cannot see the plan of God, His intention. So there are many people who try to say that if God is compassionate, why He has created something like death, tsunami, tempest, and things like that. Why He has allowed these things to happen? So theologians are trying to say that this is for you to learn, that is also good for you. But our mind is inclined to think that what is good is not causing suffering. Only the bad things that cause suffering. So that is our mind of discrimination. So we should not use that mind of discrimination in order to try to understand God. So that is why the deepest way, the most wonderful way to touch the ultimate is to remove notions, including the notion of being and non-being, good and evil. And we have learned that for Alaya Vishnana, everything is a wonder. There is no good, no evil in it. There is no being and non-being in it. It's only mind consciousness has these notions. We are caught in these notions, and these notions may be useful. But if you are caught in it, you suffer.